Yeah, go ahead before you get. Shut the door, bruh. You raising a barn? I'm trying to do a video. All right, so today I'm gonna talk about one of the bigger issues that I have. Cut.
Good.
But today I'm gonna talk about just one of the bigger issues that I feel is in the church, and it's the issues of traditional services versus contemporary. In my opinion, I like contemporary. I am involved in both services. While I'm here at Dallas for school, I go to a contemporary service, whether it's Watermark or the Village Church. But when I go back home on weekends, I get to be involved in my home church's more traditional service. Now, my music minister back home does a really good job at integrating traditional hymns and then contemporary music, you know. Probably one of the biggest things that we have that's contemporary is a drum set in our church, and that was kind of a big thing for the older generation for a little bit, but eventually it got to where mixing traditional hymns with contemporary music helped just smooth that out. This is an issue for me just because I see it over here now that I've lived in Dallas for a little bit. I see there's more of a push towards the contemporary style where there's big bands, there's lights, there's smoke machines, stuff like that. And I'm not discrediting any of that. I actually like that better just because it allows me to get more involved. It allows me to really experience the worship better. And a lot of that is the fact that I ran sound for the youth band back home for a while, and I was getting really involved in the music side of it and the production side of it. So when I get to be involved in that, I get to experience how that affects the worship, how it really builds up to those moments of true worship and stuff like that. But one of the issues that I see is that it's dividing the church. And a lot of people think that, you know, this is a good thing because it allows for everyone to enjoy their certain type of worship. And, you know, a lot of people just don't see it as a big deal. But what I see it as, it really is a division in the church. You're separating the younger generation who is more into the contemporary worship, who loves the big lights and the big bands. And you have the older generation who grew up on hymns and enjoys that and doesn't like the whole full band stuff, electric guitars, drums, anything like that. And so what you have is, while you're in the middle of trying to basically make everyone happy, you're creating a problem of separating in the church. So in the Bible, you see a lot of talk about wisdom and elders and what they mean to the church and why they're important to the church. And that's for a reason. The reason that elders are important is because that's where you get the wisdom of your church. Job talks about it in 12, where wisdom comes from the age, and he's referencing out of Psalms. And then in Proverbs is all about wisdom. And then even Paul talks to Timothy about how age is...
Good.
And even Paul talks to Timothy about how his age shouldn't be a hindrance, but he should still be respectful of the elders and learn from the elders and why it's important. And today what you see is that's being taken out of the church just because some people just don't like the way certain music is done. It's a good thing that camera's not turned around.
I wish y'all had told me that.
No, you good. I can cut all of it. It's fine.
Do either of y'all have a gray or black shirt? Just a straight gray or black shirt?
Straight.
Like
gray.
solid? Yeah, I
Yeah,
probably have a crew neck.
God.
I probably have a gray crew neck in the
Okay.
closet.
Crew neck. What's a crew neck?
Not a V-neck, but it's the V shape. It's a short.
The short V.
Go in there and look. This next part of the video is kind of going to be like a kind of butthurt kind of thing because I'm literally going to call you out. So what you see today is everybody's trying to accommodate for the specific style of worship that people like. Honestly, I have a big problem with that because being able to see both worship and through contemporary and traditional, I've found that I can worship through both. I find that a lot of people can worship through both. My issue is when people talk about how they say, oh, I can't worship when there's a full band and the drums are loud and all this stuff. I can understand how some of that is just kind of build up to get your emotions stirring and all that, but if you can't focus on what the lyrics are saying or what everybody around you is doing, you're in the wrong position. I believe that worship isn't about our preferences. I believe that worship is about us worshiping God, praising God. And if you say that there's a type of worship that hinders you from being able to do that, then I believe that your heart's wrong. So I see it as a big problem of, you know, people deciding whether or not they can worship in a certain setting, that allows you to be callous to certain music, allows you to be callous to certain types of ministry and stuff like that, and it hinders you from being able to experience what God might want you to be able to experience in that moment. Personally, like I said earlier, I enjoy contemporary worship more, but that's not for any reason that discredits what traditional worship is for me. I just believe that I'm more connected to it because I was involved with sound and things like that in the production side of it. Also, I just believe that the worship at whether it's Watermark or the Village, that I can see the people around me worshiping in a genuine way. That's what allows me to worship more, is the fact that I can look around and I can see people putting their hands up and really praising God and not just faking it to make themselves look good or anything like that. But I see that also in traditional services when it's just a piano and hymns. I believe that that can happen through both, and I believe that the church is really starting to stray away from true worship and rather of preference of worship. And I think that it's going to be a big issue. I mean, it might sound a little biased, but my home church, I believe that they do a lot of things right in that. They do a very good mix of contemporary and traditional. And no matter what age you are, I see people throwing their hands up. I see people worship in that. And I believe that that's how it's supposed to be. I don't believe that there is a set way to worship. I believe that there's many different ways to worship. I can worship to Christian rap, which a lot of older people seem to have a problem with. Maybe it's because they can't understand the words. Maybe they can't process what's going on.
No, they're just a funny choice of words.
Look,
Like they're old and they can't process what's going on.
well, that I tried to show my dad a Christian indie band, and like lyrics are sound like they're talking about theology and stuff like that, but as soon as the guitar started playing, he's like, I can't understand anything that's going on. Worship isn't supposed to be about what you like or what you don't like. It's supposed to be about how you're showing your praise to God and how you're showing your love for God. And I think that the church has gotten away from that. I believe that contemporary music is making some amazing things, and that they're going in a great direction, and it's going to open a lot of gates for a lot of ministries to be pushed out into the world, stuff like that. I think a lot of people are deciding to focus on the fact of what sounds better to them or what they prefer and what it's allowing for the church to be involved with. And honestly, you might not have the same view as me. I just think that how the church has progressed with its contemporary music, especially over here in Dallas, I see it a lot more than I did back home. Even back home, there's a lot of churches that are going to the split times of worship, so you can have a traditional and a contemporary, and what it does is it allows for the younger generation to be completely cut off of the older generation, which isn't biblical. The structure of the church doesn't say that it's all young people. There's specifically elders in the structure of the church for reasons, is because that's where we get our leadership, that's where we get the wisdom, that's where the younger generation looks to fulfill what they've done and to continue what they've done in the church. And so I believe that it's a big issue. There's honestly going to be a lot of people that disagree with what I've talked about, but there's going to be a lot of people who do agree. If you agree with what I talked about, share it with someone who doesn't agree. See if this video can shed some light, or if not, they'll hate the video. I don't know. But if you liked it, share it. Please like the video, share it around. Get a thumbs up. I'm not putting that in. I don't know. I might put that in the video. But thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.
This is a dangerous group.